Good morning to all. Today we are going to learn a new chapter, that is the nationalism in India. In this chapter we are going to learn about various topics related with the Indian independence. As you know, the feeling of nationalism raised in India as part of the First World War. The First World War, the Khilafat movement, non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement, etc. have a great role in creating a vision for gaining freedom among the people of India. First of all, we are going to discuss about the implications of First World War. The First World War created a new economic and political situation in India. It increased in the defense expenditure, and also it resulted in the increase of custom duties and introduction of income tax. As a result of that, the prices of commodities were also increased. Above this, a lot of villagers were forced to recruit into the army. Likewise, the crop failure in many parts of India also leading to the shortage of food. And above all, the Spanish influence which killed millions of Indian people also created a vision for freedom among the people of India. During this time, Mahatma Gandhi came back to India. That was in 1950. He became a part of the Indian nationalism, and also he started the idea of satyagraha and non-violence. Satyagraha is a non-violent agitation started by Mahatma Gandhi. The main tools of satyagraha were the non-violence and also truth. The three main experiments of Gandhiji with the satyagraha done in India were the Champaran Satyagraha of 1916 of Bihar, which was to protect the plantation workers against the oppressive plantation system. The second experiment is in Kheda, Gujarat in 1917, demanding a relaxation in revenue collection. And the last one is in 1918 at Ahmedabad, Gujarat. During this time, the British government passed a law which is known as the Rowlatt Act of 1990. This was a law passed by the Imperial Legislative Council despite the opposition from Indian members. This law demanded that the government had powers to detain the political prisoners for 2 years without trial. It was intended to curb political activity by Indians. Gandhiji launched the non-violent disobedience movement starting with the Hatha. A lot of results were happened as a result of the Rowlatt Act of 1919. The major result is the starting of civil disobedience movement. The massive strike and shutdown of shops and workshops was the another result of Rowlatt Act. It feared the British administration. They arrested a lot of leaders from Amritsar, and they stopped Mahatma Gandhi from entering into Delhi. The imposition of martial law by General Dyer was the another major result of the Rowlatt Act. As part of the martial law introduced by the General Dyer, a great tragedy was also happened in India during this period. This is known as the Jallianwala tragedy in India. The martial law introduced by General Dyer is unaware to a lot of people in Amritsar. That is why they gathered in Jallianwala Bagh on 13th April to celebrate the Baishakhi festival. General Dyer blocked the only exit and ordered to fire on the gathering that left hundreds dead. The main results of the Jallianwala Bagh incident were the news of tragedy spread to North India also. The second one is the Strikes and clashes with the police also started. The government suppressed and humiliated the protesters is the third result, and villages were bombed were another result. The major result is the violence forced Gandhiji to recall of the Satyagraha movement, or Gandhiji forced it to stop the Satyagraha movement. Next, we are going to discuss about the Khilafat and also about the non-cooperation movement. The Satyagraha, which was implemented as a result of the Rowlatt Act, was limited to some cities and towns. Therefore, Gandhiji intended to unite people, especially the Hindus and Muslims, for a wide movement all across the India. During this time, the Khilafat issue was also happened. The Khilafat issue gave an opportunity to Mahatma Gandhi. Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali, associated with the Khilafat committee, discussed the united action of Khilafat issue on that time. By sensing the opportunity to unite the Hindus and Muslims, Gandhiji launched a Khilafat non-cooperation movement in India. There were many stages for the non-cooperation movement. The first one is the surrender of government title like the Sir. Second one is the boycott of civil services, army, police, courts, legislative councils and schools. Third one is the boycott of foreign goods. Fourth one is that if government uses the repressive measures, civil disobedience campaign to be launched. And the last stage is that the mobilize of popular support. Differences within the Congress. A fear of violence were origin in the Congress. Therefore, many of the persons within Congress opposed to the boycott of the Council of Election. No consensus between the supporters and opponents of this movement. During this time, the Nagpur session of Congress in 1920 was ended with a compromise and adoption of the non-cooperation program. Next, we are going to discuss the second chapter, that is the differing stance within movement. In this chapter, we are mainly discuss the movements which happen in towns, in countryside, and also the Swaraj in plantations. First of all, we are going to discuss about the movement which happened in towns. The middle class people were participated in this movement. A lot of people were boycotted the schools, colleges, and also even courts. They boycotted the foreign clothes and they picket a lot of liquor shops, and all these harmed the colonial economy a lot. But the khadi was expensive, and as part of that, the poor people couldn't afford the khadi. Absence of alternative Indian institutions also affect the Indian people when they boycott the schools, colleges, and courts. Therefore, the teachers, the students, and lawyers were compelled to join back in their institutions. Next, we are going to discuss about the rebellion which happened in countryside. Mainly the peasants started these movements. It was led by Baba Ramachandra. This movement was against the landlords and talukdars. High rents, insecurity of tenure, beggar, etc. were the main reasons of this rebellion. They organized the Naidobibans, the setting up of Kisan Sabhas with branches in many villages were the main effect of this rebellion. The next movement in countryside was conducted by the tribals. It was led by Alluri Sitaram Raju, and it was a movement against the colonial forest laws. The colonial government restricted the entry of people into the forest. The people used violence method to counter the forest laws. The Gudhem rebels attacked police stations, attempted to kill the British officials, and carried on guerrilla warfare for achieving the Swaraj. At last, Raju was captured and also he was executed in 1924. The last attempt was conducted in Swaraj in the plantations. It was related with the plantation workers in Assam. For plantation workers in Assam, the freedom meant the right to move freely in and out of the confined space in which they were enclosed, and it meant retaining a link with the village from which they had come. Under the Inland Immigration Act of 1859, the plantation workers were not permitted to leave the tea gardens without permission, and in fact, they were rarely given such permission. They believed that Gandhi was coming and everyone would be given land in their own villages. They, however, never reached in their destination. They started on the way by a railway and steamer strike. They were caught by the police and they were brutally beaten up. But the visions of these movements were not clearly defined by the Congress programs, yet the rebels chanted Gandhi's name and raised the slogans demanding the Swatantra Bharat. Thus, our second chapter was also over. I hope all of you understood all these portions very well. Now we are ending this video. Thank you. Thanks for all for watching this video.